Welcome back to Let's Have It Out. Still in studio with me is EFF Gauteng Chairperson Mandisa Mashego. Well, let's hear what our viewers have to say. A question from our WhatsApp line is from Chantel in Johannesburg CBD, who says, what does land expropriation mean for someone like me, a 30-year-old employed female with no proven record of land owned by ancestors or backdated family receipts? Thank you for the question, Chantel. Yes, Mandisa. How, according to EFF's policy, will land be meted out? Will certain groups of people be prioritized, and according to what criteria? And I ask this because a lot of the figures that are being bandied about, including by the EFF, is that black Africans only have access to 7% of the urban land and 4% the rural land. In fact, 61% of the land in South Africa has no racial origins because it's owned by trusts, including the trusts you support, like the Ingonyama Trust, churches, juristic persons, corporations. So to answer Chantel's question, how is she going to be expropriated? Is she going to be free from expropriation? Is she a target? Is she a... How are you going to delineate this?
Let's clarify. It's 79% of the land which is in private ownership, and that private ownership is then divided according to entities, so individuals, companies, trusts, etc. And the community-based organizations and organizations like that are a minimum. And then
they're not a minimum.
And then when you break down...
Ingonyama Trust owns
when you break down,
millions of hectares in KZN.
No. When you break down the 79%, 72% of that is in white hands.
No,
right?
No one has those figures. No, you can't be clear. Nobody knows because there isn't a racial audit in the deeds office.
The Department of Land Affairs and Rural Development has just released an audit and a study, and the report is available. Let's deal with Chantel's question. I want us to respect Chantel's question.
Yes.
Chantel's question is spot on. Because the ANC government has failed spectacularly in collusion with white property owners to transfer land back to the original owners. And the fact their failure will take more than 100, if not 200 years to correct. We don't have 100 years, I don't have 100 years. So when the land is taken back into full custodianship of the state, and of course that custodianship will be shared in relevant places with traditional authorities, persons like myself and Chantel and everybody in the studio here who has been dispossessed of land historically, whether they have a record of the dispossession or not, because of course the archaeological archives are not there, or rather the anthropological archives are not there to assist most of us, everybody will be allowed to have access to land and have security of tenure without having to prove, except that they must be a South African citizen. And this distribution will be done equitably. What does equitably mean? If I am Tony Leon, and my parents have left me, as I predictably think they did, have left me some assets, right? Land assets, property, etc. I'm not going to be prioritized. And I should not expect to be prioritized by the state to be given land, especially for primary residential purposes. So Chantel will be an immediate beneficiary.
But Chantel's, I think, asking a different question, but she's not with us, so we can't ask her. She's saying, but I'm in the CBD of Johannesburg. Maybe she owns an apartment there.
Yes.
She's not going to ever be subject to an expropriation without compensation.
The entire land of the country is going to be put in state custodianship.
So she can't own her property privately?
She can own what is on top of the land. I'm not sure.
How do you own a flat?
No one is going to be evicted. The mechanics and all the administrative and bureaucratic processes. You must remember, I think somehow there's a paranoia that exists amongst, especially our white minority portion of the population.
Well, it's not racialized. We ask
no, but it's racialized. I mean, you can see it in the public participation processes. We have AfriForum, by the way. We have AfriForum.
Well, I'm not here to speak
don't say we mustn't racialize it, because we have AfriForum, and I want to send a very clear message to AfriForum. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're having public hearings here in Gauteng.
They're not on the show.
They must come to those public hearings as citizens of South Africa and behave.
You behave.
No, they must behave. If they don't behave.
So they're not allowed to speak.
If they don't, no, speaking and behaving are two separate things.
You can't determine.
We answered Chantel's question.
Well, I don't think she's
all citizens will be allowed equal, equitable access to land.
If you own a house or a flat at the moment, will you be able to keep the ownership?
Yes, of course. Why wouldn't you?
But you said you can't own the land.
We will introduce a land use license
mechanism. Where in the world?
Currently.
Where in the world has this worked? The system?
In Singapore. In Singapore.
Well, Singapore, you can't own your private property. I promise you can.
Singapore, of course, because the land.
And the state doesn't own the land.
75, of course.
You can
75%.
You can buy a house or a flat.
You are going to, don't speak like this, Mr.
But you can.
You are very disappointing. You are going to be able to buy land. You are going to be able to buy a house or any property you want, right? Built anywhere, except you're not going to have the land ownership aspect of it. That will be in custodianship of the state. No one will be chased out of their property.
Why will the state be better at looking after people's interests than the people themselves? Where does that work?
But the government are the people. What are you talking about?
Well, the government, the people right now.
I understand
No, but the government are the people now.
I understand your fear, right? And I share your fear.
We're not here for psychological counseling.
I understand your fear and I share it. No, we all share your fear. Under the current government, it's going to be impossible.
But you just said the government is the people, and 60% of the people voted for this government.
Under the current ANC government, it's going to be impossible because they are corrupt and they can't manage anything efficiently.
We're going to have to take a break, and still to come, we take a few of your questions and calls. Don't go anywhere.